of what we call the hook. And again, I apologise for the top of the slide missing. The hook is the first part of the lesson where you've got about 3 or 4 minutes to catch their attention, to inspire them for the next part of the lesson. And there can be a lot of innovative ways to do that. Often in OH&S we show some ridiculous ladder that spans 15 feet across and is balanced on a donkey and all sorts of things, and the students laugh, there's humour involved, and it gains their interest. I want you to think of your lesson plans now and think about what hook you could use to inspire these students to hook into the subject that you want to deliver to them during that lesson time. We're there to activate their interest, we're there to activate their learning. So be creative. Some people use stories, metaphors, video clips, practical explanations. It doesn't have to be humorous. It could be as simple as building a one-on-one relationship with the students, sitting next to them and saying, what are we going to do for today? Breaking the day up. And again, we're still in introduction here. We're still in the first part of lesson planning. Why do we need to break the day up? We've talked about brain breaks. How long are your lessons generally?
Hour
and a half, 6 hours. 6 hours. 6. You've got a long time with these people, and you'll find yourselves as you're sitting here, you get a bit fidgety towards morning break, afternoon break, looking at your watch. I've been off my phone for far too long. So we know these things are tricky for us. So just jot a note down that you have to schedule in breaks. And I'm going to put up a little timetable of what's going to happen. We're starting at 9, we're finishing at 12. I'll give you a break about 10:30 if the work is done. So set up those expectations at the beginning of the stage. Step 3, the main body of the lesson. Here's this is what we do every day. We work. So you plan your activities and your examples. You estimate how much time, and the more experienced you are, the better your estimates. You build time for extended explanations. You identify strategies for understanding, and you look at high effect strategies that you can use. Strategies that are going to maximise your time and the time that you're spending with your students in class. Sometimes you might walk in and say it'd be nice to sit and have a chat and do this, but time's too tight, I haven't got time to sit and talk for 15 minutes. So look for high effect strategies. Keep that real life example working in there, and inclusivity. Make sure that everyone is included in the class. Are you considering the low LLN students? Are you considering students where language is perhaps an issue? Are you considering students where they've just arrived, they're new? So you've got that inclusivity in your planning. It's a little prompt, because once you're up and running, you're busy. You're running around. And we're trying to build this muscle memory so that it's on the top of your mind all the time. This is step 4, assessment for learning. You might want to jot that down. And I just want to remind you that good quality feedback doubles the retention and learning in our students based on John Hattie's work. So when you're designing a lesson plan, you need to think to yourself, where am I? What do I need to close the gap? And then where should we be? So the students may be here, the outcome's over there, and your lesson plans are all about what's bridging that gap. That's what we're thinking about. So we're going to show you some work from Dylan Williams, and I believe you did some information with Carol Dweck and her work in the last sessions. Is that familiar with everyone?
Yeah.
So Dylan Williams is, and as Karen quotes to me, the guru in feedback. So we're going to play you 2 little videos, and we're going to go over a slide of his process. These were quite contentious in the last couple of sessions, with people having very polarised opinions on his view. That's okay. That's what we're here to discuss. We're looking at the task and it's about I do it. So part of our learning process is us showing the students. That's the first part of it. Then you've got the process. And that's about we do it. And that's about us having the role as a coach. So you're working alongside your students whilst they do the task. Our ultimate aim is self-regulation. And that's the stage where it's you do it. So we've got our students to the stage of independence. They're capable of doing the task on their own. Now, one of the focuses with feedback is we can pin ourselves to these first stages and not encourage the students to this final stage. So this is what we wanted you to think about. Now, obviously, if you're at stage 1 of a particular task, you would then go back to showing them the next stage of the task and go through this process. So feedback's about enhancing student activation and learning through this process. All right, to sum up Dylan Williams' material, this is where we are here. This is what our job does. So we set our lessons plan up, we set those learning intentions, we offer content, we offer definitions, we offer clarity and discussion. Where the learner is, we need to be engineering effective discussions and tasks that elicit evidence of learning. Remember your learning pyramid? That's what we need to be engineering into our learning lesson plans. We need to provide positive feedback that moves learners forward, keeps that learning in process. And we need to be activating students as learners and resources for one another. And this is important in our lesson plans as well. So again, we're progressing the students through the process. At the end, we should have students activating students as owners of their own learning. They've got ownership on it. They're heading towards that independence. I suppose one of the questions I would have is time management. And again, this has got to be common sense. You've got to balance up your requirements to have for summative assessments corrected by a certain time. But when you're planning your lessons, again, build this muscle memory in, think about formative assessment. Think about having some ability to formatively assess them as they go through the lesson. Remember, that's what we're here to look at, how to plan these lessons. So we need to remember when we're wrapping up a lesson, what do we need to cover when we're doing a conclusion? Your expected learnings for the lesson. So we started off with today you will learn to. Did you address that? Did you sum up? We learnt today, we learnt. And can you write that sentence down? Today we learnt to. And fill it in as part of your conclusion. This is part of your wrap up. So you wrap up what you've done, what you've learnt. I actually jotted down a few techniques that can be used to help. So someone was mentioning before about the exit pass at the end of the day. So it's really important to leave 10 minutes or so to finish the lesson off. I've seen other people use the same system where you have to present one thing to me you learnt today. It may not even be theory-based. It might be that I can work with John today. So one thing you've learnt today before they can leave the classroom. Everyone heard about share pair? Getting in pairs, sharing what you've learnt. Yes? So those techniques. Again, you'll find in the strategy book information about this. You can also set up a preview to the next lesson. So today we didn't quite get through everything I planned when we were doing our learning expectations for the lesson. So we did this, but we didn't quite get up to this one. Next lesson, we're starting off with that. So you can set up a preview, it's good for yourself as well. The last section, step 6, is on creating realistic timelines. Now remember, these are in your resource. I know it's frustrating we can't see the top of the slide, but they are in your resources. Some things to remember. Keep the concepts you're dealing with in a lesson, I'm talking about a standard lesson, not a full day, manageable. 2 to 3 for an hour lesson would be reasonable. And that pacing through the day is probably reasonable. Don't give them 12 or 13 different performance criteria that you're going to address in the first hour. They may leave by morning tea. Have additional examples. Now, contingency, and I don't know if you've had time to think about contingency. They finish your work early, it takes too long, know what you can leave out, know what you can collect. Have some examples, contingencies there just in case. What you can leave for relief teachers. Estimate how much time these activities take. We've talked about this before. The more experienced you are, the better your judgment is. Plan a few minutes at the end to get the wrap up and get the feedback. Now, it's quite a good idea. How many people get the students to give them feedback on how they went in their lesson? It's great. What about them assessing you in your lesson? You'll all be filling out a feedback on me today. Do you ever schedule into your lessons feedback on the lesson you've delivered? Yeah. So it's important to schedule these in. It adds ownership to the lesson and to the culture for your students. Remember, we're just going through this smorgasbord of ideas. You probably get paid up with all of this one and none of this one. It's up to you what you feel comfortable working with. Plan extra activities, we've talked about that, or discussion questions in case you have time left. Sometimes things go flat. They just don't work. You thought it would be easy to assess and say, here's a spanner, use this. And they just go, no, I'm not doing it, walk off. So sometimes these things do happen. Be flexible, adjust. I don't think there's any such thing as the perfect day, is there? Cognitive overload, that's what we just talked about, so making sure that you're not loading them down with 12 performance criteria in the first hour. Take time after each lesson if you can. It's an ideal, maybe the end of the day, maybe the end of the week. Just give a bit of reflection on how you're going, a bit of a touch in on how I'm going, how am I feeling about the job I'm doing, how my lessons going, am I reaching them, am I not reaching them? I've got to do a bit of research and reflection, a discussion with colleagues. Your network of colleagues is very important to your practice. Collect student feedback, and if you're feeling very brave, video yourself.